everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Wellness. I'm Spandana, your host for today. Today we have Dr. Aparna Nedunuri with us. She's a GP at Palmer's Medical Center in Truganina. Let's welcome Dr. Aparna.
Hello Spandana.
Hello doctor,
everyone.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. For a beautiful spring day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So doctor, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, like you said, my name is Aparna Nedunuri. I'm a GP over here in Truganina in Australia. And I am trained in India, so my basic MBBS is in Andhra Pradesh, which is Telangana now. I came to Australia almost 11 years ago. And I have been working I was working in WA for almost 4 or 5 years, and then I moved to Victoria, and most of my practice has been in a rural setup and then in a suburban setup, and now I'm here in a what we call as an urban practice over here. So I did my FRCGP after I came to Australia, and then started my work as a general practitioner, and I'm married, 2 kids, 8 and 14. So yeah, that's where my life is at now.
That's good. So doctor, you're specialized in women's health.
Well, specialized as in I have done a bit of training in women's health, but I've got a special interest in women's health. And being a female GP, wherever I went, whichever practice I worked in, I had to do a lot of women's health. So I sort of developed that special interest in it, and I have been doing most of my 11 years of practice in Australia has been with women's health. So you can probably call it a specialization in a way.
So why women's health, and how important is it to discuss about women's health?
So over the years, what I have found out is women's health has got unique needs, as well as there are all these common needs that are all across the board. But women being like the bearers of life, homemakers, their health, I guess, decides or defines the health of the family. So you have a happy woman who's bearing healthy, happy kids, and then looking after the husband, looking after the parents or parents-in-law and the kids, like the previous generation, the next generation, and that defines the health of the community. So bringing up a healthy generation, the next generation, they'll be bringing up healthy kids, and being there to support them, I think defines the health of the community. Women are also unique in the way that we are always taught to look after everybody else more than ourselves. So it's always husband's health first, or parents' health first, or then kids' health first, rather than ourselves. And there is this very poor health literacy in women. So a lot of women don't understand what their health needs are, and then sometimes when they have symptoms, they don't understand what is normal, what is not. Sometimes they get very anxious and panic about simple, small things, and sometimes they ignore big things till they're quite late and then quite advanced. So I think that is what made me think of women's health. And even the Department of Health in Australia has identified 4 key issues in women's health. So one being the mental health and well-being, so a lot of depression and anxiety in women. One being sexual health and reproductive health. One being chronic diseases, as we call it, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, weight gain, and the common health problems that are associated with advancing age, or again all across the board, but mainly in women. And then there is the healthy aging. So when women attain menopause, how do they deal with it, and how do they manage their quality of life at that stage of life. So these are 4 key issues that the Department of Health has identified, and that's what we are working on to make sure we have got a healthy community in general.
So doctor, in a woman's life, there are many hormonal changes happening at different stages of life. So are there any crucial stages of life where there is a maximum chances of getting affected or getting health issues?
Yeah. So women go through almost 5 or 6 stages of life. So one is the puberty, where girls attain menstruation, and with that come a lot of menstrual irregularities, which cause a lot of stress and anxiety to girls who are in school, trying to do sport, trying to study. And then there is a lot of body image issues where the hormonal changes are causing changes in your body, acne, weight gain, and trying to fit in with the social surroundings, with the changes that they're having. And sometimes when they have heavy menstrual periods, they are associated with iron deficiency, nutritional deficiency, and girls getting very tired and not knowing where that tiredness is coming from. And hormonal changes in the stress causing changes in the appetite, so there are a lot of eating disorders that happen at that age because of the hormonal changes. Again, for parents to understand what is normal in the girl child, and then giving them that adequate support is essential. Usually that support comes from the mother, so mothers need to be aware of what is expected of their age, what is normal, what is not, where to seek help from, and how to educate the girl child, and how to access the resources to educate the girl child is important. And then at that stage, what some hormonal changes that are normal, that are common even otherwise, are probably highlighted at that stage, like thyroid dysfunction, or risk of diabetes and all these things. So those again are trying to identify them at an early stage so they can be managed better is essential. Then comes what we call as a preconception stage, where women have started relationships or have got married and want to start a family, want to have kids, and then planning adequately for that. So having your screening done, pap smears, having some blood tests done to check your immune status for, say, rubella, chickenpox and things like that. And if you don't have adequate immunity, having the vaccinations done. Having your financial setup or social setup for planning a pregnancy, like having your insurance done and everything. And then seeking some advice from a doctor to say, look, I'm planning a pregnancy, what are the things that I want to do? And then expectations of conception or fertility is also a big thing these days, because sometimes there are these social pressures that you have to get pregnant within certain deadline, and if that doesn't happen, then you get stressed. So trying to understand what are valid times that you might take to fall pregnant, and when to start worrying and when not to worry is important. We are seeing a lot of subfertility happening, so it could be delayed pregnancy or some women not being able to fall pregnant for a lot of reasons. So having that understanding of when to wait, till what time to wait, and then if it is not happening beyond that time, then seek medical advice. There are certain symptoms that you might have to indicate that you might have some concern. So polycystic ovarian syndrome is one thing, where you can have irregular periods or delayed periods or missed periods. You can have weight gain, facial hair and things like that. So understanding those cues and understanding that, there might be some problem with my hormones, and seeking help and getting some tests done and seeing if it is that, then to have a proper time limit of what time I'm going to wait for, and if not, where am I going to get help from. And then there are other things like endometriosis, adenomyosis, or fibroids, which usually are benign, but one of the main problems is that they can grow to big sizes and then affect conception. Again, understanding if your periods are heavy or they are painful or they're irregular, then seeking a doctor's help and getting some tests done is always essential. Then comes post-conception, like after women get pregnant, then again coming and seeing a doctor straight away, getting some tests done, and then starting the process of pregnancy and care. So it's a streamlined process, more so where we are over here. So there are certain options privately and through a public hospital where you can see a midwife or a doctor and start the process of pregnancy and care. And we are seeing a lot of nutritional deficiencies during pregnancy as well. So preconception, when you come and see the doctor will tell you to start on folic acid, or make sure you have a good diet, make sure you have a healthy lifestyle, so that through the pregnancy you don't have any concerns, because we are seeing through pregnancy a lot of early pregnancy losses, or what we call as intrauterine growth retardation, so low birth weight babies because of nutritional deficiencies, which is unfortunate, because where we are, we have got good resources, and we have got we are in a country where all these things are easily accessible, but probably are not. One, because of lack of awareness, and two, because of lack of understanding of how crucial that is over here. Basic simple things like healthy eating and having a healthy lifestyle, how crucial it is to to define your health as age goes through, as age progresses, is probably very essential. And again, that lack of awareness is what is keeping women from doing that. So, understanding that, and there are good websites attached to medical organizations and health departments that you can go through. I mean, we Google stuff and we get a lot of information, but sifting through that information to understand what is valid and what is not is a big thing. So it's always good to go to websites which are reliable. So like we've got the Better Health channel in Victoria, and we've got websites that are attached to a hospital like the Royal Women's Hospital or Department of Health website. So going on to a reliable website is very important, and getting information from there is good. And then after pregnancy, after childbirth, that is another big area where women go through a lot of change in their life, and it's hard to adjust to that, especially if it's a first pregnancy, if it's your first child. Then adjusting that to that new stage in life is always hard. So postnatal depression is a big thing. So especially in first pregnancies, new mothers not knowing how to handle babies, and lack of support from the rest of the family, or people saying, oh, this is a normal stage of life, so you should know what to do. But then you don't. There is no, you're not taught these things in any universities or anything. Back then when we had big families where you had your parents or grandmothers, grandfathers living with you, you would have that information from them. But where we are over now, and the lifestyle that we lead, where we have small families, you don't have that education, you don't have that wisdom of another generation telling you that this is what you need to do, this is what is healthy or not. So that stress causes a lot of postnatal depression, and inevitably that gets transferred onto the rest of the family. So the child grows up stressed, and the husband is stressed, and any other kids that are in the family are stressed. So inevitably that gets transferred, so that affects everything in there. And then, breastfeeding is a big thing. So understanding again what is normal, what is essential, what is beneficial to the mother and to the baby. So breastfeeding has got a lot of benefits to the mother and to the baby as well. So understanding that it is a natural process. Two, it is a very crucial process for that transformation for mothers onto through their losing their body fat or getting their hormones back into normal is good. And then it's an essential nutritional source to the baby. So encouraging that and making sure going through all the difficulties that you have with that, say either with timing or the physical pain that some women go through with breastfeeding, getting essential support through that, getting the understanding of again, what is normal and what is not. Mastitis is a common problem during that time. A lot of women don't realize that till late, so they don't understand that having those body aches, tiredness can be sometimes a very insignificant symptom of mastitis as well. So then people telling them, oh, this is normal for this stage of life, but then it does turn out to be a very serious infection. So identifying those symptoms early on is probably important. And then comes the premenopausal stage, as we call it. So, what was happening post-puberty again starts happening. You have irregular periods, you have weight gain. Then there is an increased risk of cardiovascular disease during that time. So, if you inherently have a genetic risk to it, so if your parents have had diabetes or heart disease, then understanding that you might have a genetic risk of it. So, identifying that and getting some tests done. Following a healthy lifestyle, making sure you eat well, exercise well, get adequate rest and things like that. Cancer screening is a big thing at that time. So, what was the pap smear was important before, pap smear is still important now, but mammograms and bowel cancer screening are important at that time. So accessing that and then making sure you go through all the tests. And then postmenopausal, which I think where we are in this community, we don't have a lot of aged women yet, but you do have parents and parents-in-law visiting you. So you need to understand what are the needs of women at that age so that you can get the right medical help for them. Yeah. So hopefully I have sort of given you a gist of what is
Yeah, there's
essential
quite
for.
a lot of information.
There is, yes.
Most
there
of
is.
them, talking about the breastfeeding, most of them usually concentrate on the benefits the baby gets through the breastfeeding, but
That's
no one
right.
actually stress on what benefits that can happen to the mother as well.
Exactly.
So that's something good to know.
That's right, that's right. A lot of women don't understand you can lose a lot of weight with breastfeeding. So all that weight gain that happened during the pregnancy can be lost with breastfeeding, and that information encourages women to sort of be comfortable with breastfeeding as well.
Very true.
Again, a lot of women have changed their attitude to it. It's not like what it was before. So a lot of women do breastfeed, but I think having a proper understanding does take away the stress from it. So sometimes it can be painful, sometimes it can be, the timing can be difficult, you're waking up nights, feeding the baby, so sometimes that can be difficult. But if you understand the benefits, so that sort of justifies the pain that you go through in your mind. So it makes it easier for you for women to do it.
Yeah, that was really very informative. Thank you. And doctor, talking about different stages of women's life, are there any major problems which women usually tend to miss out or ignore while that happen?
Yeah.
There are few, as you spoke about, the PCOD and the fibroids. When they start, they are usually symptomless. Eventually, after a while, they start showing symptoms. So women usually tend to ignore the earlier symptoms. So are there any more problems which women usually tend to ignore?
So nutritional deficiency is a big thing. A lot of women are iron deficient all across the board. It's not just Indians or Asian population. We see a lot of Australian Caucasian women as well who are very iron deficient, and I think that is mainly because of the menstrual loss. So that's where women are unique there, and because of lack of proper diet as well. So women being busy and looking after the rest of the family, working mothers, not having enough time or planning a proper diet. That there I think they miss out. So nutritional deficiencies are a big thing. A lot of women are going vegan and vegetarian these days. So B12 deficiencies and vitamin D deficiency where we are because we don't get much sunlight. So understanding the effects of those deficiencies. So sometimes when you get very tired, you don't know where that is coming from. You just think it's because of the stress you're going through or the busy life that you have. But then knowing that, it could be that I'm low in something, or it could be a thyroid problem that I have, and seeking medical advice is important. And we see a lot of mental health issues that women go through all across the board as well. So like we were talking about PCOS, so that can cause a lot of mood swings and mood changes. Endometriosis, because of the hormonal changes, can cause a lot of mood swings and mood changes. And girls or women at that age, when they go through it, again, everybody else telling them, it's probably because of hormonal changes, or it's probably because of the stress you're going through, and pushing it aside is probably not a good thing to do, because again, that is going to define how you're going to look after yourself in future. And if you're not happy, how are you going to do that? So the rest of the family understanding that, picking up on the cues of what is going through with the girls or with the women is important. So parents being aware of what to expect and when to seek help if their girl child is going through certain changes, and husbands or partners understanding that what their spouses or their partners are going through, and then giving them that adequate support and identifying issues and telling them, alerting them that this is not normal, you do need to get help, is probably also important. So it's not just women who should be aware of women's health, but men as well. That is again another big need that is there in the community these days. Men not being able to understand what women go through in different stages of life and giving them that adequate support. We are seeing that cancer screening is picking up now, but there was a big gap in it before. So pap smear screening and mammograms were not being taken up, but that is improving these days. But again, I want to send that message out that these are essential screening methods that all women should be having done at different stages of life. So seeing a doctor and getting some advice about that. And musculoskeletal problems are also very common in women these days. Again, because of all these diet changes that they go through.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly going vegetarian and then not having enough protein in your diet, losing muscle bulk, and then still running around and doing important jobs, lifting heavy things, and then ending up with shoulder pain, back pain. Low back pain is a big problem these days, and then that affects everything in your life. So you have got good methods of managing that. So if we identify that yes, this is going to be a chronic problem for you, a GP can do a GP management plan and give you access to chiropractors or physiotherapists or things like that, hydrotherapy or something like that, that can help with managing the pain better so that women can function better. So I think that that's probably essential to do.
So talking about the screening methods like pap smears and mammograms, what age is the recommendable age to start getting these screening tests done?
So pap smears are from 18 years on, 18 years or more than 2 years of sexually active, whichever happens earlier is where pap smears should be done. And then mammograms, screening starts from 50 years. But from 45 years on, women can access mammograms through Medicare if they feel there is a need for it. So if they've got a family history of breast cancer or something like that, and then identifying that, and they can have earlier mammograms if need be. And bowel cancer screening is also being started from 50 years on. 50 plus, so there's 50 plus all people, like even men and women, are getting bowel cancer screening kits in post, but even otherwise they can come and get them from the doctor.
Okay. How frequently do they have to undergo all these screening?
So pap smear is done once every 2 years. Mammogram is also once every 2 years. Bowel cancer screening is also once every 2 years, but then it depends on their inherent risk. Talking about cancers, I also wanted to highlight about ovarian cancer. That is another thing that we are seeing that's happening more and more often these days. And the scary part about ovarian cancer is that the symptoms that happen in early stages are very insignificant. So identifying it at an early stage is crucial yet very difficult because there are not many symptoms in earlier stage. It is a genetic cancer, so women being aware, like if they mothers or sisters or aunties or more than two family members on the same side of family having the ovarian cancer or breast cancer, does increase their risk for it. And then having coming and seeking some advice and understanding about what to look for symptom wise. Or there are familiar cancer centers, like if the risk is if the genetic risk for them is quite significant, then we can refer them to a family cancer center and get some genetic counseling done so that it can be identified early and something can be done before it gets too advanced. But then, if you have any menstrual irregularity or any symptom that is out of the usual, coming in and having it checked is always important, because some of these things, they're so insignificant in the early stage that you wouldn't know the importance of that, but a medical professional might. So coming in seeking some advice for that is good.
Okay. How important is it to get to do the personal examination of one's own self? So self-breast examination is one of the, how should I say, it can be one of the methods where you can identify, a woman can identify any breast problems that they have, but it is a bit hard. It is a bit hard to do, and that is why it is not promoted a lot. So we do encourage women to examine their breast, but it might be a very unreliable method. So doing it, ever so often is good. But again, if you have any serious concerns, and coming and getting it properly done by a medical professional is good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, doctor. So, is there anything else you wanted to discuss about women's health, in particular to people who are entering the puberty stage and then getting into planning children, or the later puberty stages? Are there any major problems which they face, do you think?
So the message that I just want to give women who are, either in that stage where they've started their periods, or they're in the stage where they're planning their pregnancy, or in the stage where they've just had a delivery and have got a new child, is that one, it is very important to look after your health. So make sure you have a good diet, make sure you lead a healthy lifestyle, make sure you exercise well, maintain a good healthy body weight. Two, identify any problems early. So don't think that most of these things are usual and just brush them aside. But if you have something unusual like heavy periods or missing periods or periods being very painful, then identifying them early and seeking medical help. The second thing is, there are some changes that we do go through as women in all these different stages of life. So some stages you do gain a bit of weight, some stages you have problems with acne, facial hair and things like that. Some stages you do have physical pain in different areas of the body. Some are normal and some are not, but again, understanding that difference between what level you will cope with them before seeking help is very important. So if something is unusually uncomfortable and very irregular, so it's not just one cycle but 2 or 3 cycles which are irregular, or periods are quite heavy and painful, you do need to come and seek help. So again, a medical professional will probably be able to advise you better on what to do or what is normal. And then relying on the medical professional's advice is also good. I think there is the information that you get from social media and Googling stuff has become a double-edged sword, and information can always make you scared or make you aware. It's like there are benefits and there are bad things about it as well. So understanding where to get reliable information from, and then learning to trust the medical professionals that you see a bit better is very important. So if you seek medical help and they've said it's okay to wait and watch, then it probably is. But if they said no, go on and get this test done, then it probably is essential to get this test done. So that trust is probably very important. Yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much for your time today.
No,
It was really very informative session for today, and there are a lot of things which women don't know, which they are aware of now with your today's episode. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.